I was thinking about it. I'm an introvert. Like I'm a painfully and always have been a painfully sort of interior person.
You can change that as much as you want. If you packed everything up, like cut the internet off and moved to a new town, like who would you be there? If you wake up every day, you have a capacity to be great.
Ask you something. Is the next 30 seconds guaranteed?
Yeah, never.
Never.
You have to answer every day when you go to bed. Were you a good person? Were you kind? Did you care about others? Or were you selfish and only thought about what you wanted?
Continuing to ask questions in like a kind or positive way.
If I can create a spot where people can come together.
Stay off the internet, stop researching, because all you're going to do is get in your head.
I did what everybody does when they're about to die. I started praying.
This might be my last fork in the road.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Exactly. Welcome to our journey,
Where open dialogue and curiosity are the only requirements.
whether it be serious or lighthearted,
Music, heroing stories,
aliens.
or politics or comedic debauchery.
We attempt to peel the layers back and connect together in a way that's genuine and honest.
Without any script or idea what the hell is going to happen.
This is organic, curious, human interaction.
We thank you for joining us and ask if you enjoy the show, please do all the things that social media requires for its more ridiculous algorithms.
The like button, follow, subscribe, comment, and review.
And although we may have a disdain for algorithms, it's how the internets work.
But if you have as much disdain for them as we do, you can visit the website, chroniccuriosity.com. The link is in the description. You can find all of our stuff there.
And the store, Tony, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Welcome to Chronic Curiosity.
And here we go. Did you start everything?
Back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle. Yeah, it's we actually went through 2 guests today that we had to reschedule, for things. So we lucky everybody, it's just us again. But some exciting things. Everything is up. The Josh Snyder, who is with us, who is an awesome time, was gracious enough to give us a new face. I know Tony's not. He's still curious about the cat thing. He's still not sure if he loves it or not. But I think that's part of the thing. Is it's interesting and curious.
It's ambiguous.
It is
kind of like it because I feel like I was telling you earlier, it represents us in a sense. You're like, I don't know what to make of that. I guess I'm gonna have to explore it a little bit further. But it's super professional. I definitely knocked it out of the park in terms of this thing looks legit.
Yeah, he gave us a full background, everything. So all the applications have the new logo and all the things all over the place. But we got new shirts up in the store. Can you see it now? So we got these new shirts up in the store. All different types of colors and not designs, but all different types of colors, just like most of the other shirts. But also, like I said, they're all on the website if you want to support the show. Also, we have a donate button on the website now as well too. And that will be linked in all of the videos and podcasts and everything else. So if you don't want to spend $25 on the most comfortable t-shirt that you'll ever own, that's okay. You can donate a little bit if you want to help support the show, because we don't do any advertisements or anything like that. So if you enjoy the show, if it's a couple bucks or whatever if you want to help do what we do, that option's available, because not everybody likes t-shirts, I guess, even if they're the most comfortable and curious t-shirt you'll ever wear in your entire life.
Solid pitch.
Yes. I
feel like you rehearsed that.
I didn't.
Did you rehearse that? No, maybe a little.
Yeah, I thought.
Did I rush it? No, it was good.
Yeah, it was good.
Little oceans.
Well, it was funny. Because I told you I talked to my sister recently, and I don't remember exactly how we got on the topic. I think it was something to do with the show and the t-shirts and whatnot. And because we had talked about how Cassie had made us a few t-shirts back in the day, like the 13-fold shirt.
Best t-shirt ever.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. That's an expensive shirt to make just because it's so much. She put a ton of hours into it.
Best t-shirt ever.
Best, yeah. It's awesome. We'll have to find a way at some point. We'll have to do like a
maybe a scaled down or toned down,
Yeah,
but resurrect it for sure,
Yeah.
and release the 13-fold song,
Yes.
maybe on a specific holiday, and then possibly a portion of proceeds going to
I like that idea.
one of the veterans.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to do something like that. I know we've talked about that, but
Maybe even a knife raffle of some sort.
yeah, I got a couple of them laying around. And I got some. We're gonna keep on working on those too. But I was talking to her about the shirts, or whatever, making them, and she was like, just kind of like curious, and she was like, well, she's like, where do you get your shirts made? And I said, well, it's through like a fulfillment service because they ship them right out.
Yeah.
You know, the shirts, all you do is order it, free shipping. I think they're $24.99, I think, because I just wanted to make them an even dollar amount, but you wouldn't let me. So they're, but
Gets the people interested. It gets the people
yeah,
going.
I hate that. It's so silly. Like, it's $25, just minus a cent, like whatever. But they're $24.99, but they're free shipping and everything. They just go right to you. But we were talking about it, and I was like, really, like, I had to have these kind of shirts, so I use this fulfillment service because they have this brand of shirt.
Yeah.
I said, it's just the most comfortable shirts I've ever worn. She's like, well, what kind? And I was like, oh, they're Bella Canvas. Like, they're just so comfy that's just. And she was like, well, I've been kind of starting to do that kind of thing. Like, well, is there like a specific shirt that they like make that you really enjoy? And I was like, yeah, I think it's like was it like the 3114s or something like,
tri-blend,
yeah, like the tri-blends or whatever, something like that. And she was like, yeah, that's the exact same shirt I'm wearing right now. Because she was like, they're the best shirts ever.
Yeah.
And it was like, here it is, like my sister, I haven't seen.
Did we just become
Yeah.
best friends?
Yeah.
You have no idea
Yeah,
Tony,
I heard
how
a little bit about it.
similar
That's
they
awesome.
are. It is so funny.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I haven't talked to her in years
yeah.
and years, and all of a sudden, like, here we are wearing the exact same type of T-shirt because, well, maybe that's just because they are the most comfortable T-shirt I've ever worn. But it was funny.
She's messaged me a couple times about the show, and I'm like, you are Fred's sister. Like, it's so funny how similar they are. And actually, I ordered her a shirt, the same color that Fred's wearing, so she'll have one.
Yeah, she should have it by
Coming.
the time this comes out.
Yeah,
so it
so
won't be too much of a surprise.
Hope you like it, Jess.
Yeah, but yeah, there's all different types of colors and everything too. But they're I don't know. I'll never need another T-shirt between these and Rogue. My T-shirt closet is solid. Yeah. I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but
Probably just pimping the T-shirts, bro.
yeah, I mean they're nice. I can't help it. Once I found them, it was years ago that we found. I don't remember. Was it because you were making different stuff, and then we found these brand, and then, or was it because of Rogue?
Yeah.
They're just nice shirts. And then finally, I was like, just order me a bunch of blank ones so I can wear them to work. Like that's.
So it's funny that you guys found them from us because I found them from somewhere else.
Oh yeah, Southern Grist
Yep.
Brewing Company.
Yeah, it's one of my buddy's breweries down in Nashville. I think they have
Oh,
two of
okay.
them now. And when they first opened, they had these T-shirts. And I'm like, what is this magical sensation on my
It's so
skin right
awesome.
here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, those are the T-shirts that we need. So I went through a couple different ones, and I think we kind of came back to those. So
I mean, makes sense. They're nice shirts. Speaking of shirts, I bought a shirt today that's hopefully it's as comfortable as the Chronic Curiosity Bella Canvas T-shirts by Colion Noir.
okay,
I saw a video. He was talking about. He had posted something. So for those who don't know who
is
Colion,
it a pew pew shirt?
no, it kind of is. So Colion Noir, for those who don't know, is a Second Amendment advocate who is a lawyer, but he's obviously, since he's a Second Amendment advocate, he is huge on guns. But contrary to maybe mainstream media belief, which is, I think, hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. There he is. Fuck yeah. I love that dude.
Dude, that's a sweet Texas shirt right there.
That is a sweet Texas shirt.
SBR.
Yeah. So did you put that up on there so you can see that? So he's a black man that is a lawyer and a giant Second Amendment proponent.
And he drives some cool cars.
He does, and he has some sweet guns. He posted. He's like I think I posted something else by him the other day. He was like, I have more guns than I do underwear. Or no, it's what he said since, what was it, 18? I think he said something about if this was 1867, I wouldn't be able to own a gun.
What's that say? Amosexual?
Amosexual.
Click on that one, please. Zoom in a little bit.
Amosexual, a person obsessed with owning guns, a zealous supporter of the right to bear arms.
Ooh, I like it.
I like that.
It's also $24.99.
It is also 20, but yeah, you have to pay shipping and handling with his though, and you don't with the Chronic Curiosity shirts. Ours are $24.99 right out the door.
Can we put some guns on our shirts?
Yeah, we should. I'm down for that.
Maybe.
Oh, they even had an Ohio one.
Maybe a bearded butcher, some barbecue, some guns, guitar.
That would be awesome. That's cool. I like that.
Silhouette of a naked lady.
Yeah. But yeah, so he posted the other day, he said something, I think it was, I'm going to probably mess up a little bit, but it was, he said, if this was 1867, I wouldn't be able to own a gun. And now in 2021, I have more guns than underwear and something like, and basically just saying like, look, like, oh, and then he finished it off with, does this nation, have some things that it can, fix? Absolutely. But I'd rather live in a nation I'd rather live in a nation with problems with no ceiling than a nation with problems with a ceiling. And I was like,
what kind of ceiling do you think
he's talking about? Like potential.
Okay.
Like potential.
Okay.
Not like actual,
yeah.
a roof over my head,
no,
but like a
I didn't
potential
think so.
ceiling.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why plenty of people move to America, the land of opportunity.
Yeah. So it was really awesome. But he, go back to, I want to show you the shirt that I bought. Can you pull his website back up? Yeah. So like I saw, he had a video that was talking about, these stuff going on in South America right now. Not South America. Sorry. Well, also South America, but South Africa. And it was a guy, that basically was saying there was this reporter out there, and she interviewed this guy that was he was basically just kind of strapped up and said that like, hey, like, why are you out here? And he was like, look, we realized it, like, and we'll get into this, what's going on in South Africa and other places. But if the government's not going to help these people out, like, we have the duty to protect our township and our families and our lives and everything else around us. Like, the government's not doing it for us, so we have to. So if you scroll, that's the sweatshirt. If you scroll all the way up, I think it was at the top. So like at the end, he was wearing a shirt that was talking about this guy, the one on the right there. I am the militia. And I was like, he started talking about, Second Amendment this wasn't a constitution that gave you the right to bear arms. The Constitution protects your right to bear arms. It doesn't give you the right. It protects your right to do it. So it was like, it just hit me like the differentiating between
the nuance of words.
Exactly. The nuance of that.
I didn't say the R word. Calm down, guys.
Yeah. I think she's starting to hate nuance even more than the R word. But so I was like, you know what? Like, yes, I saw about that shirt. I am the militia. And it was like, it really hit me. It really hit home that like, we should, like, I guess going back to kind of the Michael Malice and anarchy talk, like, we should be able to allow it to protect ourselves. Like that's it comes down to human core, right? Like, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
When you're trying to survive, you will do what you have to do to protect yourself. And he even talked about this a little bit. He's like, when everything boils down and everything goes to chaos, what's one of the first things you want? If you have the, understanding that you can use a gun, which is the ultimate equalizer to protect yourself, I'm gonna want a gun, so no one can come in and just destroy my life.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, I was like, you know what? I'll support you, Mr. Coleon Noir, and I'll buy one of your t-shirts, even if I have to pay an extra $3.60, whatever it is, in shipping. Unlike when you buy a shirt from Chronic Curiosity. But it was like, yeah, I was like, that's really awesome. So I got me a sweet new shirt. Hopefully it's comfy. But I thought the whole statement of, realizing that when government breaks down, you're all you got. And I think I've said this 1,000 times, and I know I'll probably drive it in the dirt, but there's so many people particularly in the United States, that don't realize how quickly it can all go to shit. And if you haven't been paying attention to the news, it is quickly going to shit around the world in a lot of places. I don't know how up to date you have been, or have you seen a lot of stuff going on?
Just what you guys have been saying. I've just been super busy.
Yeah, it's wild. So I don't even know where to start. Have you heard? Well, have you heard of the Haiti president getting assassinated?
Assassination, yeah. And they thought that the Americas have something to do with it, or America has something to do with it.
So the Haiti assassination, the president in Haiti was assassinated. It's probably been a week or so ago, and it'll probably be 2 weeks by the time this comes out, or something. Or no, this will come out soon. So.
Did he say something about the Clintons?
I don't even, there was something else I heard about the Clintons the other day that it was,
bro, don't say it a third time or it'll be like Beetlejuice and we'll be assassinated.
Yeah, right. No, that was the did you listen to the Roger Reeves episode?
I didn't get a chance yet.
Oh, it's so good. We can talk. I'll write that down so I don't forget about it.
Wasn't he with Barry Seal?
Yes.
The dude okay, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That was a cool movie, by the way.
Yeah. He said that movie was shit.
Well, I thought it was cool, but I don't know the real.
Yeah,
obviously, I wasn't muling for Pablo, so
yeah. So he was
allegedly.
A guy, he was a allegedly. Yeah. So he was a drug runner for Pablo Escobar, but we'll get back to that because that was a super interesting story. We'll talk about that. But so the president of Haiti was assassinated just recently, and some bullet points because obviously I'm not going to pretend to know at all because that's just not whatever. But the whole thing, what we do is we touch on things and kind of bring out interesting points and just kind of let people stew on it. So the president of Haiti was assassinated recently, and apparently, allegedly, whatever, none of his security forces did anything about it. There was audio that was leaked from the scene that they busted into the house basically screaming that they were DEA. So they don't know if because they're used to dealing, because so in Haiti they're used to dealing with, United States forces and whatnot and DEA.
So maybe they just said,
they thought this was
hands
like,
off.
Yeah, hands off.
It's a three-letter agency coming in.
Right. So they thought, okay, hey, this is, that's one of the things that this is why the security agency that was supposed to be protecting the president of Haiti just didn't do anything about it. There is at least one person that was part of the hit squad that is confirmed, quote unquote, confirmed by the U.S. government or the FBI. I'm not sure which three-letter agency has confirmed that at least one of the people was I can't remember which branch, so don't quote me on this, but was a informant and worked with the United States as either an informant for like the CIA or the DEA or something like that. So there are ties. They've confirmed it, that they said, yeah, this person had ties with government agencies. So you have a Haiti president assassinated with zero pushback from his own security forces and involvement from a person that has ties to United States government. Pretty fucking wild. Obviously, no one knows exactly what's going on, but
maybe it's just a coincidence.
Maybe.
There's an awful lot of those lately.
There's been an awful lot of coincidences lately.
So what was our relationship like with that president? And was he ever outspoken about anything? Or was he...
What? Are you trying to...
No, I'm... So if we had an involvement, and I mean, it's documented that we've taken out leaders of countries to implement another leader, and that didn't work out.
You're saying that the U.S. government gets involved in regime changes around the world?
All the time.
What?
All the time. Let's play the peacekeeper when we can't even keep peace in our own nation.
You don't say. You don't you say. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what?
I guess, do you know
look at Saddam or Gaddafi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what our relationship was like with that president, though?
I know they talked about that. I don't know. I don't know enough about that information. That I think there was. I don't know. I don't know enough about that to really talk on it. But I do know there were some discussions about. There were some weird things going on behind the scenes about supposedly some people were trying to like fill, like we're trying to like, they might think they planned it to fill that seat, and there was some weird things going on. But I don't.
Are there any natural resources down there, or is there a lot of drugs that go through that area?
Oh, there's got to be drugs that go on through Haiti. You'd have to just assume.
I'm not assuming. That's why I'm asking. I don't know.
I would think so. I mean, you look that whole section there from. I mean, any connection between the southern United States and South America, Cuba, and going back to old Roger Reeves and Pablo Escobar, like all those places that like. There's got to be some flow of something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I haven't taken a deep dive into it. If somebody has, please. I was like thinking about it.
Yeah, please reach out unless you're a 3-letter agency.
Yeah, then we're just a podcast. We're just having fun. This is all for entertainment value. I don't know, but there was just that was like one of the first things that like happened. I was like, holy shit. So then I was like, well, this would be interesting to like
follow.
Yeah. But then fucking the Cuba thing happens. And Cuba's falling apart. And there's thousands of people out in the streets, and there's tons of people dying there. And then when you start down that rabbit hole, you realize, oh, South Africa, that place is falling apart, literally like burning. They're looting. I think I saw something where they are predicting one of the worst famines and food shortages in modern history because of the looting and destruction that's going on down there right now.
Are these things that you found on mainstream media, or did you have to dig for these?
Oh, you got to dig for it. Yeah, you have to follow like non-mainstream media people.
Follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, follow the breadcrumbs and the money.
The rabbit hole.
But part of it, you know what? I would say the biggest names that I hear talking about it now are Sagar and Jetty and Crystal. I think their last name's Ball on Breaking Point. So I sent you guys that.
Yeah.
So Crystal and Sagar had a show on The Hill called The Rising, I think, and it was like it wasn't obviously not mainstream. It wasn't like CNN or Fox or any of those places.
Because they told the truth, or
well, the funny thing is I will say this: if anybody wants, even their bias. So Crystal and Sagar, they have biases.
Does anyone not have biases?
Right, but they're upfront about them. They admit it. They admit them.
Yeah.
And they'll even say that Sagar leans a little more conservative.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say. I don't even know if right's the word. Sagar leans a little more capitalist.
Okay.
And Crystal leans a little more communist soft, socialist soft, not communist, but like socialist, like kind of like Bernie.
Still, ooh.
Yeah. She leans a little more Bernie-ish, but he leans a little more like, hey, like I think that's probably one of the biggest things they disagree on is capitalism versus, how all those workings are. But they at least attempt to put news out there and touch it in a semi non-biased way, or at least in a not even bipartisan, because that's a terrible word, terrible phrase. Forget that. But they do a show every weekday. It's an hour now because they left their non-mainstream news outlet because they were being restricted too much. Because of the advertisements and the people that pay the bills and all those things. So they were being essentially not silenced, but they were like, hey, like
controlled.
You can't talk about it. It's just like how you've seen those things from like James O'Keefe and Project Veritas.
Yeah.
Bringing CNN out and Fox, and there's people from Fox too.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was the funniest thing. This side tangent here. I don't know how much you follow Project Veritas and all that.
I mean, just what you've said basically.
Right. So it was funny because in the beginning, Project Veritas, which is kind of this branch off of another, they weren't known so much like as a news organization. They're more of a busting like news stories about like how the news is so controlled and whatever.
Yeah.
So they started busting a bunch of CNN people about how they were controlling the news outlets and how they're controlling the narrative and how they want to make this certain narrative because they wanted to get Trump out of office, this, that, whatever. And so then they started getting this real name. Project Veritas started getting a basically a bad name, that they were like, oh, they're just this right-wing group that was down to take out, left-wing stuff. So obviously they're a bunch of Nazi supporters and they're crazy. So then, like a few weeks ago,
They busted Fox News.
Yeah, they busted Fox News, and it was like all of a sudden, like you could see it, like they're like they didn't know what to do with it because they're like, well, shit, now he's busting the right too. Like, what are we supposed to do with this? Well, obviously, they're just bad actors, and they're just trying to get entertainment. They're not actually trying to, like, when it's these reporters saying like, look, like they muzzle me, I can't say these certain things, I can't do these certain things because it's all about money. It's all about advertising. It's all about the people at the top, and it's all about who pays.
Likes,
it's all about who pays the bills. And we are forced to not talk about things or to talk about certain things in a certain way. So that's interesting too. James O'Keefe, who is the founder and lead person at Project Veritas, he's a little goofy. I'm not. He has like this music video out and like different things. Like he's a little goofy, but hey, he's having fun, I guess. I don't know.
Wait, hold on. You got to tell me a little bit more about this music video.
Oh, can you see if you can find it? James O'Keefe music video.
Music video?
Well,
what genre?
He's like a dance, and he sings. Well, it's basically about like censorship and stuff, I think. But see if you could find it. I don't know if we could play it.
No, we're
probably
not.
Allowed. You could probably play it without the audio. That way we can at least see the video. I don't think his song. I don't think he would care. Like I don't think, but who knows if it's copyrighted or
play it later. It's fine.
But just to understand the music video, yeah, Oligarchy.
Okay.
Yeah, so the name of the video is called Oligarchy. It's like this basically. It's a goofball thing, but he's calling people out for lying. So people are just trying to save face, and it's interesting. But there's some interesting things to see. I think it all kind of comes down to like you have to be able to pull what it was probably the 4th episode or something like that we did where we had talked about like how do you know who to believe?
Yeah, when Cass was like, where do you get your news source from? Right. Like, how do you know that this is the truth? Like,
yeah, you don't. And it all comes back. I think you just have to pull from everywhere. And just go, okay, what's this person saying? What's this person saying? Like, do I disagree? Do I agree? Whatever. But coming back to breaking points with Sagar and Crystal is so they broke free and now they have a podcast and a YouTube show where they have a pretty big following. And they basically like once a day for about an hour, they do a podcast and they kind of break down like recent events and things that people just aren't talking about, and it's like the real shit. So there's some things I've listened to that's like I don't agree with you there, but like hey, I really agree with you here, and you're talking about things that most people aren't. Especially if you think you can get your news from TV. I don't know what to tell you. But, I mean, don't get your news from me either. But we want to be able to put ideas out there enough to go, hey, at this day and age with the internet. You have no excuse. You got to go out and find it. Figure it out yourself. Figure it out. Yeah. So, but there's so much stuff going on, and they touch on that stuff that like you realize there's civil unrest going on in Cuba and Venezuela and South Africa and London. I don't know if you saw. It was like a couple weeks ago. Dude, the streets in London were fucking filled with people because they were talking about new COVID restrictions and different things.
Yeah.
Filled. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Didn't hear anything about that on Fox or CNN.
No, not at all.
Or MSN. Like, and it was like, I was watching these videos and I'm like, oh, this is probably a fake video. Because it's like, and then you start going down the rabbit hole, finding different people that they're like, they're just not talking about this. Like, and I saw something, I don't know if this is true. I saw something that they were saying in France that they were going to start requiring vaccine passports for everybody to go and like to go buy groceries and stuff. I don't
Cassie, can you look up how to say fuck you in French?
On it, boss.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but
see.
Check it out. Like I said, I don't know for sure, but I did see some. I didn't have time to dig into it, but I was like, can you imagine that if you have. I don't know how to speak French, so you're gonna have to. Do you know much French, Tony? Do you know how to? I don't know how to pronounce that. If you know,
Va te faire foutre.
I like it.
yeah, it didn't sound very French.
No, it sounded like Arabic or
yeah,
something.
yeah. I don't know.
Va te faire foutre.
It's probably like fatigue. I don't know. But yeah, so it seems like there's a lot of things that are going on, or at least they seem real weird. Particularly when you consider that, these people, like, wait a minute, we're saying we have potential ties to government agencies in, assassination attempts again in another foreign country for what, I don't know why Haiti would be one. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, if there was like, what do we stand to gain from that, I guess.
Right. So who knows, but maybe it was just a guy that had ties to a government agency that just got hired as like a contractor to do a job because he was familiar with DEA stuff. And, I have no idea, but there's a lot of weird things going on. If it was maybe like Venezuela, like the president of Venezuela, that would make sense to me. Because they're like, wait a minute, this guy's pushing decentralized currency for his entire country. He's not going to use the dollar anymore. So anyone doesn't know, I can't remember the guy's name.
Wait, it was Venezuela?
I think so.
Was it?
I think it was Venezuela.
I thought it was Ecuador or something.
No, I think it was Venezuela. Look up Venezuela Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure it was
Venezuela. I hope it was, because that would give it even more legitimacy if it was a place as big as Venezuela.
I think it was Venezuela. I'm almost positive it was Venezuela. I can see his face. I can't remember his name. But yeah, one of those countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it, guys? Venezuela replaces national currency with Bitcoin.
Was there someone else that did
there's another
Bitcoin?
country that's talking about it.
Okay.
But Venezuela was the first one. I'm trying to remember who's that president's name now. I'm just curious. So obviously Venezuela is one of those countries that has just been in shambles. I think I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast, but I think it was like 60% of the country's citizens don't have access to banking.
El Salvador, dude.
El Salvador.
That was the first one. But apparently so
maybe
did they accept it then?
I don't.
It just said their national currency. Because El Salvador was...
El Salvador, yes. Yeah, sorry. El Salvador is the
What
first
was
one.
that, Cass? Go back to that.
Yeah, can we see some replaces?
I swear that said it just replaced their national currency.
That's what the guy says. See, scroll down.
Yeah, and what's the site?
Yeah, this just looks like a blog. July 15th. Yeah, just recently. Hyperinflation.
Bro, don't lecture me on the simulation anymore.
What do you mean?
Oh, this right here. You just happen to know Venezuela?
See? Dude, I've been telling you the simulation was a thing for a long time. What do you mean, don't lecture you?
No, don't say I'm out of the simulation when you're saying this shit.
Oh, I never said I was. You could know because you always fuck with me. You're like, sorry, had to get back into my avatar.
Oh. No, that's just weird. That.
I don't know. Maybe it's
unless you read.
Maybe I already saw it. I just read so much random stuff.
You had something up about the Venezuela riot. Was that why that was on your mind?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because there's something going on in Venezuela as well too. That's like.
Is there? Like, it sounds like there's something going on everywhere at this point.
That's the whole.
That they're not reporting on.
Right, and I like why. Like why? That's the question. So,
treating us like mushrooms.
Yeah, and so it kind of ties into. Partially, it ties into. I'm assuming you didn't get to listen to the Yeonmi Park podcast.
I did not.
So I'll just another sidetrack here. Lex Friedman does a podcast with Yeonmi Park, which is it's spelled Yoenmi Park. Obviously, I'm assuming Park is not her given last name. She was a North Korean defector, and she talks to Lex Friedman about how she got out of North Korea, what it was like in North Korea, and like her life. Now she lives in the United States. I think she went to Cambridge, University for a long time, and graduated from there and whatnot. But long story short, she lived in North Korea until I think her early teens, was sold as a sex slave to China, which is how she got out of North Korea. Like that was her pass out, was being sold as a sex slave. And she says she would do it all over again.
Jeez.
Because of her experiences in North Korea. So she got sold as a sex slave to China and then eventually found her way to the United States. And now she lives here. Like just an incredible discussion with this.
I'll listen to it.
You have to. Everybody out there should have to listen to it because it is.
What speed did you listen to it at?
I listened
with her voice and his voice.
It was hard because I usually listen to Lex Friedman. Oh yeah, that's her. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I spelled it wrong. Yeonmi, Yeonmi Park. Yeah, I really want to get her book too because she has a sense of like fortitude that I don't think 99.9% of United States people could ever even imagine understanding. But her story was just incredible. So I think we'll have to write that down and get her book because if nothing else, I want to support her. But so her just she tells a story about how she went through all that and now she is where she's at now. And you could tell, you can see like the irritation from her being like she's like, Americans, like, wake the fuck up. Like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, you don't know this path you're going down. And it was just mind blowing to listen to her. Like, guess what? Like, North Korea still doesn't have internet.
That's wild.
They don't have access to internet right now.
No, I know. That's
intentionally.
Wild.
Well, and she talked about how, was it her mom was telling her that when you come here, like when you're here, speak your mind and, you're free to do all of that. And so then she came here and the impression that she had of America was not that her family had, laid on her knowing that they were hopefully coming here,
right.
Was she got here and was like, it's a lot better than where she was at, but this freedom is not actually, she was told that she could say whatever she wanted and be okay. Like that you're protected, to be able to say whatever you wanted. And then she said, that's not actually right.
Right.
You're getting canceled. She didn't, I don't know if she's used that word canceled, but she just remembers thinking like it's a hell of a lot better, but it's not what she had in her mind.
Right. Yeah, she did. She discussed like that. I think she kind of just touched on like how she could see the path that we were going down was like, you guys, like, she was kind of like saying like, you guys don't know where this leads to, like, canceling or like stopping people from saying things like that's what they do in controlling, tyrannical governments and just the I don't think people could even understand. Like, it's one of those things where you have to. It's so hard to put yourself in that position. I'm getting better at it. I think that's why I get so like worked up about it. But just imagining being in a place where you have there's no like specific clothes. There's no internet access. There's no it's essentially like a Hunger Games I don't know if you've ever seen the movie like Divergent, where you were born, you get assigned a economical like societal class. You do these certain jobs. It doesn't matter. Like,
sounds like India.
Yeah, like
caste system.
Yeah, it's a very much caste system, but it's just like so. But at least India, at least they did have Bitcoin. Like, they at least had internet. You know what I mean? Like, where you could like they said like history in North Korea, like for those who don't know, like starts out with Kim Jong-un. Like, that's when history started, was when he was born. Like, they don't have any of their calendar. Like, so he was, essentially the beginning of time for them. So they like.
Who are you talking about? Trump's best friend?
What'd
you say, Willis?
Yeah, right. No, Dennis Rodman's best friend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
But like realizing that, like, trying to put yourself in a position where you were born in a place where you know absolutely nothing about the world around you. You are bred and like led to, but like just feel this like and they talk about the only love that you feel is for Kim Jong Un. Like there's no
Hold on. How are you saying his name?
Kim Jong. It's Kim Jong Un. No, Kim Jong.
Is it Kim Jong Un?
Kim Jong Un.
I don't know. I'm
don't know.
asking. I don't.
I feel like
honestly
everyone
don't
pronounced
know.
it different in the way
Yeah.
she pronounced it. I don't know. I feel like I
can-
feel like Yeonmi would probably be the one to pronounce it properly.
All I can. Kim Jong Un.
Kim JONGUN.
Jong Un.
I don't think she. I feel like she didn't pronounce the J's. So I was trying
I
to
mean, I
pronounce
would
it. don't-
imagine that she probably pronounces it.
Yeah, I don't
correctly, so-
remember. Like I said, it's been. But however, Kim Jong.
All I can think of
Kim
is the interview
Jong-un.
right now.
Yeah, I would not suggest watching that as your historical information on old KJJ or KJY or whatever. Well, that's like the was it MB? Was it MJB from Saudi Arabia? Who's the leader of Saudi Arabia? I can't. I have a hard time pronouncing his name too, so I just call him. I think it's MBJ. Mohammed bin Salman. No, MBS. Mohammed bin Salman. He's the Saudi
MGK.
Arabia.
Is that what you
No,
said?
MBS. What was- so was it just KJY Kim Jong Un? I don't know. A potty break. Good.
So, which
once
one do you have?
once the ice cube melted, I had the
Yeah.
electric crack too.
Oh, okay. You going for the heater next?
Sure, if you want. Yeah, we can do that. Do you want? I'm definitely need an ice cube
It's like
for
a
that one.
like a bald eagle with a raging heart on.
You think we should go one or two?
Just one.
Just
Come on.
one? I don't know. It was really good though. That electric crack was good after one. You want one? Sooner?
Yeah, I already had one of those Jack Daniels already too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've just been
You're
rambling
good.
on.
You're good.
I don't remember exactly what all I was rambling on about.
Kim Jong Un.
Yeah, however you pronounce his name.
I need to listen to that podcast. That sounds very interesting.
It's a phenomenal podcast. It is, yeah, Lex Friedman and Yeonmi Park, I think is how you pronounce her name. She has a book out and everything else, but her story is just, it's pretty mind blowing. Just to kind of try to put yourself in the shoes of a completely different life, and the fact that they're so shielded, they don't know anything else. Like I don't know if have you ever read The Giver?
Yeah. Like it's been a long time, but yes.
But it's kind of like the same kind of feel, because that was one of my favorite books when I was younger. Because it's kind of like a futuristic type thing where like there's no color. They like live in this dome, in a sense that there's like there's no color, there's no emotions, there's no feelings. They're able to take away like pain and hunger and all these other things by like whatever. And then there's one person that's designated to hold all of the memories of people, of like human civilization or whatever. So like that person is able, like learns all these memories of like color and warmth and feeling and emotions. And
so you're saying kind of like the North Korean government,
kind of like
going here. This is what you should feel. This is what you should see.
Yeah,
let's just control everything.
Yeah, because she talks about like there is no love, like even like you have no love for other people or your family or your kids.
Because they had no word to put to that.
Right.
If you've never heard about love or feelings,
yeah, and you
or
don't
emotions,
get married for love or anything like
Yeah,
that. You have to marry within your class, or you automatically like get reduced in society, and the only love that you're taught to feel is towards. You gonna say it for me? No, he said it's so nice earlier.
Nope.
For KJY or whatever. So,
gonna make you work for it, Fred.
Yeah, no, Kim Jong Un.
There we go. That sounded good.
I don't know if it did or not, but it's anybody. I implore everybody out there to listen to Lex Friedman talking to Yeonmi Park.
So what speed did you listen to it at then?
Oh yes. So that's where we started out, right? So usually I listen to Lex at like 1.5 to like 1.8 times speed.
He's a little slothish with.
He is. Well, yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily just the language barrier or just because that's just his mind is moving so fast
that he can't.
That his words, like he just
like Elon.
Yeah. But I think I had to slow it down to like 1.2 or 1.3 because she has a heavy Korean accent.
Okay.
So like I could listen to 1.5, but it was like I feel like I was missing some of the things that she was saying because of the accent. So I had to slow it down a little bit.
When you listen to some of these podcasts hit faster, like the 1.5, do you feel like that does something to your brain or the way that you process things? If people were, I'm not Lex, because you said he speaks a little bit slower, but like Rogan, I know. Didn't you say you listen to a lot of that stuff at like 1.5?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that has done anything to your brain in terms of being able to process like thoughts or speech when you have conversations with people? Or
It absolutely has.
Okay.
It's weird because I thought about it's weird that you say that because I thought about the other day.
I promise you, I'm not a
Son of a bitch. Yeah, you're reading my code right now, aren't you? No, I did. I thought about that the other day when I was driving. Because now the vast majority of stuff I listen to,
Does it seem slow?
I listen to it at 1.5, YouTube, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and I realize it when there's music being played within whatever it is I'm like listening to or watching. Music is fucked.
Really?
It is. It's so wild.
You think that'll screw with your tempo, like playing guitar and stuff?
No.
Okay.
Well, let me answer your first question first, and I'll answer a lot of fun things here. So I do realize now when I listen to something at regular speed, if it's like a podcast or something like that, that it seems really, really slow to me. Like when I go back to edit and like pull clips from our shows, I have to, luckily, the software, when I upload it now, I can fast forward it. I can like condense it.
Okay.
And I can listen to us at like 1.5 to like pull the right clip in the right spot.
Sure.
There. Because I'm like, oh, this sounds so weird. And it sounds like I'm talking so slow.
Go for the chipmunk speed to edit it.
Yeah. It's, and then like I've been like when I'm driving or, whatever, listening to a podcast and I'm listening to like 1.5 or 1.8 or whatever. And I wonder like, oh, like if I like when I talk to people, do I just like am I starting to like speed up and like
Are you adopting that speed?
Yeah, like is this dude like just this guy just do a fat rail of coke?
1.5, just crank it up.
Yeah, like is this guy all hyped up on drugs?
Yeah.
Like, or I think most of the time I still come off normal, but it has done something where now if I listen to it on normal speed,
Yeah.
it seems super slow. It seems like it's slowed down, which is interesting because when I first started listening to it, it was
Seemed
like,
fast.
It was
So you
like, I
adjusted
first
to
started
it.
at like 1.2 and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this sounds really weird. They sound like
Titrated your
chipmunks.
way up on the speed.
Yeah, and then like you get used to it, and then I was like, oh, 1.5, and now I'm used to that.
I wonder if they've done any experiments on that.
I don't know, but I know a lot of people. I know there is a lot of people out there that are doing that.
Yeah.
But I can't listen to it if I'm doing something else. Like
So you have to be like wholly like.
not necessarily whole, like at least like and perfect Fred whatever like 80%. I have to
Okay.
be able to 80% kind of like, at least there has to be no other big distractions.
Got you.
So if I'm driving, I can still visually
yeah.
like, but if there's an audio distraction, that's when it makes it hard.
Gotcha.
So like if someone's like in the background trying to talk, like you can't just listen at 1.8 times the speed and be able to catch it all if someone's like talking to at the same time too.
Okay.
So like, but I did notice, I'm like, wow, like I'm so like the one day I was working and I was driving I probably drove for like 6 or 7 hours that day, if not a little more. I listened to like, it was probably like 11 hours
Jeez.
worth of podcasts. And it was just like, I soaked it all in so quick. And I was like, wait a minute, like it's over
period-
already? Like,
What period? How long did it actually take when you listened at 11 hours? Was it a 1.5, 1.8? What was it?
most of it was probably 1.5 to like 1 point. Yeah. I've just started going to 1.8.
Was it like 8 hours a time that you got 11 hours of content in, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So it was, well, it would have been, it would have been all at 1.5. So it would have been, probably roughly 8 hours and 11 hours of content.
Yeah.
And you think that like that sounds ridiculous, or like,
I mean,
you think listening at something at 1.5 the speed, if you listen to something that's 2 hours long, you listen to it in an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever however that maths out. You think, well, that's really not saving that much time. But you compound that over 20 hours. Well, you could listen to 20 hours of stuff in 15 hours. So now you have another 5 hours
Yeah.
to listen to
Sounds like
what?
compounding-
7 hours.
Yeah.
Compounding interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got an interesting curiosity with the course episode about that too.
Compounding interest.
Wait, it's in there. Yeah, it's
You better,
monetary systems and whatnot.
dude. Anybody who's under 25, pay attention.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna come out actually really soon with that. Because I took all of like our Bitcoin discussion and kind of put it in with monetary stuff and the Fed and whatnot. Did you see that? Oh, well, did you see that Fed Chair Jerome Powell?
I think you sent me that article.
He was basically like the Fed chair. So anyone who doesn't know who the Fed chair is, it's the federal banks, which aren't necessarily, the federal banks aren't run by the government.
It's like a collective group of
fucking crooks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
that
What
sounds
else.
about
I have
right.
no idea what other federal
Sounds
banks
about
are.
right.
Like, they say they're called the federal banks, but they're not actually run by the government.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Well, the government doesn't run them either. That's obviously like corporations, industrial complex of everything. But he was basically like, yeah, there won't be any need for cryptocurrency once
come out with the digital
dollar. like instantly.
Yeah. How much is that going to be worth?
Yeah. Like, how can you even say that with a straight face? Like, get the fuck out. Like, inflation's, I get like they're saying like, and I've even heard now where people talk like, well, the inflation numbers are only because of the semiconductor supply shortage and stuff like that. And it's only because, well, it's a big part because we don't have the supplies to build new cars. And that is part of the, like, was it? I think like used cars are up like 55%.
Unless it's a Corvette and it's up over 100%.
Yeah. Well, like,
mine will be for sale soon.
Yeah. And then, yeah, right. Cash it in.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Yeah. But it was like, stop it. Like, so where's all this money going that we're just printing off like crazy? Like, stop it. You're quit trying to tell me that.
Probably overseas to assassinate certain presidents. I don't know.
So,
they said they were under the impression that they were to be interpreters when he was arrested. That's what the two Haitian Americans are saying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was a good point, too.
So how did he die?
he got shot.
Got talked to death?
He got
I
talked
think
to
they said there were like 7 or 8 bullet
They're
holes
funny, man.
in
What are you going
him.
to talk me
And
to
how
death?
many, you told me, how many people are now?
So the Haitian police say that there are 28 suspects total. 20 have been apprehended, 3 had been killed, and there are still 5 remaining at large. The wife was shot, but she's
recovering.
Yeah, she's recovering.
So
the two Haitian Americans said that they were under the impression that they were supposed to be interpreters for him to be arrested.
So let's just break taking those facts, or not even, I guess we can't necessarily call them facts, taking those points and looking at that. So you have, what you say, 28 people involved in this breach of a foreign leader's house while he's sleeping. His security staff does nothing. It's on recording that they're screaming DEA. One of them has been acknowledged by the U.S. government to have ties with them. 2 of them say they were under the understanding that they were supposed to be interpreters.
2 of the suspects were hiding in a ravine and were caught by civilians who had joined the search.
That's weird.
What search?
The search for the people?
For the 28 mercenaries who apparently
Mercenaries.
mercenaries. That's what I meant.
I was like,
They were
part of the
laying some
Masons?
brick?
Yeah, they were
Laying
Masons.
block.
They get the secret
God
handshake.
damn it,
Wow.
Randall Carlson.
Mercenaries.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that seems like an awfully well constructed task. 28 people. Like, who was it? How many people were involved in the Gretchen? Was it Gretchen Wilson or
No, I think that's an actress, isn't it?
no? Gretchen. Who's the Michigan governor? Gretchen Wilmer.
Oh.
Whitmer.
Not that many. I mean, dude, how many people were involved in the Bin Laden kill? Probably not even 28.
Right. Yeah. No. It was. Yeah. It was like a SEAL team
Yeah.
and a team on a C-130 pulling them out of there, government them.
Some Night Stalkers. That was it.
Gretchen Whitmore. You know how many people? How many people were involved in the Gretchen Whitmer? I know this is a ridiculous parallel and connection, but just type in how many people. Gretchen, I think her name was Whitmer.
Yeah, hold on a second. So those two dudes said they were interpreters. Why did they Did they say why they thought they were going there?
One of them said that they had what they believed to be an arrest warrant, or parallel to that.
Yeah. So that seems like an awfully
What do you mean
constructed.
thought to be an arrest
Well,
warrant?
if they're just there to be an interpreter,
Just a terp.
They don't, they don't.
There were
know that.
13 charged
In the Gretchen Whitmer thing.
Mhm.
So less than half
Yeah.
of the people that. So if anybody's not familiar with this story, it was mid 2020 before the elections. There was a plot, a right wing plot, or right wing extremist plot to kidnap and possibly assassinate Gretchen Whitmore over the excessive lockdown measures and COVID-19 things that she was imposing on Michigan. So he said there was less than half.
13.
Yeah, 13. You know how many of those were actual government? Like,
it's time to get going.
Whoa.
It's time to get Dunkin'.
Hey, Dunkin' Donuts.
I was like,
shout
it's
out.
time to get going. Did the right-wing group just infiltrate our computer here?
So there's admitted that there were multiple, 2, if not at least 3, government agents, yes, that were involved.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's
Most of the Colombian detainees have been identified as former soldiers, including a lieutenant. Just throwing that out there.
yeah. So there's a lot of coincidences going on, and I'm not. And the whole Gretchen, the governor of Michigan thing, obviously, our government theoretically, I understand the need to have undercover people that are involved in things, but when you look at some of the things they do, that it wasn't the Boston bombing, it was another bombing that I remember. I remember just hearing about. I think I heard about it from. Or they talked about it recently, the Saga and Crystal show, Breaking Points. You can have that for free. You don't have to pay me. But they talked about how there was these young kids that they basically convinced to do these horrific things and kept encouraging them. Oh yeah, here's these bombs. You want some bombs to do this stuff? And they're like the one guy. I wish I knew. I'll have to figure this out so I can catch back up on this and clarify this later. But they radicalized this kid as this quote unquote radical Muslim, whatever, to set this bomb off. Well, they're the ones that sold him the bomb, encouraged him to buy this bomb. At one point, he's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm going to talk to my mom," and they're like, "No," they kept pushing him. And then as soon as he went to trigger this bomb, they arrested him, and now he's in federal prison forever. And it was one of these things that if they just would have left him alone, probably never would have happened. Where are we drawing these lines, and how are we constructing these scenarios that we're actually encouraging people to get in trouble so we can get them in trouble? I don't.
Sounds a lot like entrapment.
Yeah, sounds a lot like entrapment. But pretty wild that there's 28 people involved in an assassination of a government head official, and there's some weird things that are very curious.
So the reason they have the key suspect as the 62-year-old Haitian-born doctor who resides in Florida.
Did you hear about that part?
No, that's the main suspect?
Yeah, they're
because
dude,
he was
62?
He flew to Haiti in June for political reasons, and then one of the suspects called when he was surrounded by police.
Right. So they think he was kind of a ringleader or
he
something.
Planned on after the assassination wanting to take over the presidency.
Yeah, but how are you going to do that from Florida? What? That it's one of those things where
Well, he is
A
Haitian.
lot
he
of
was
Zoom
born
calls,
there.
bro.
No, it is.
A lot of
But-
Zoom calls.
I knew I did I heard he was Haitian, but like it's one of those things where like it sounds so ridiculous that I know life is absolutely ridiculous. We've seen so many things happen that are just so bizarre, and they're true. But sometimes things get so ridiculous. It's like I kind of feel like the conspiracy of a separate government doing this and just making like I feel like that's more believable than like if he was stupid enough, like he's so stupid to think that he can take over the Haitian government from Florida. But obviously he wouldn't be that stupid if he would get all these people involved and everything. Like so it's like all these things they just don't match up.
Sounds like a scapegoat.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's, when conspiracies.
2 other individuals had also been called from 2 other suspects, but they have not released the identity of those other 2 people.
Well, I heard.
So what was the address there?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania Avenue?
Mm-hmm. The White House or the Pentagon. Yeah. Well, I heard one of them actually called like the DEA offices that they were tied in with. And they're like, what should we do now? Like, turn yourself in. Like, what kind of fuckery is going on? Like they actually called the DEA. It was like, hey,
Dude, what a brilliant ruse, though. Like, dude, what if they hand selected a group of people and they're like, here's your mission, and they disavowed them?
yeah,
And then they were
I'm
like,
sure
well,
there's plenty of
we accomplished what we wanted to, and now good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck. There's no records of you.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Get fucked. Sorry.
Feel like that's happened a time or two before.
I feel like it's happened a lot. Where are the emails?
They're on
I'm not
Hillary's
saying
computer.
it again, though. Beetlejuice.
They're on Hillary's computer.
Yeah.
I didn't say the last name.
Yeah. Oh, man. There's just so many things. So all these things going on, and we can move on from this, but all of these things going on, have you seen the floods in, is it Germany? I think that are going on right now.
Oh, maybe you didn't mention
There's
something. Maybe I saw an article on it.
There's over
A decent amount, over 100 people died, I think, didn't
yeah,
they?
in the past
120 or
couple
something?
days from floods.
Yeah.
And we were having our own little flood
I'm surprised no
situation.
one died in your driveway, bro. There's a six
that's-
Great Lake there.
It's fucking pouring. My poor garden is almost all dead. Like so sad. Obviously that sounded really bad. Much more sad to people around the world.
120 people died.
Are losing
I'm
their
not gonna
lives.
get garlic.
Yeah. No, I got my garlic already.
Oh,
But
sweet.
but it's
At least 40 dead in
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was like over 70.
Yeah, I saw somewhere. I thought it said like over 100. I don't know if it was Germany, but there were floods.
Yeah, but there's some serious weather things going on. So, are you doing it again?
Yeah, keep talking. I'll be back.
All right, here we go. We're going to do a little monologue on this. So, actually, this will be a perfect time. Tony's going to miss it though. Oh yeah, so there's more than 90 dead in Germany. So there's these floods and just straight catastrophes going on in Europe, and I saw something the other day in Asia too. Well, I think it was Asia, that there was these giant mudslides that ripped out like an entire city. So we have all these huge weather events, and of course, what's everybody thinking in their head right now? Well, it's climate change, it's global warming, right? Which maybe it changes things around, it does some stuff. But then I'm surprised this is the first time that I've run across this. And it was funny. I listened to the Invisible Ships podcast guys have a new episode out. So I was on their last one, and they had the head guy from the Ohio division of MUFON, which is like basically like a agency that kind of collects, UFO or UAP data, whatever, and just kind of. But they had him on. They were talking to him, and about the UAP report that just came out from the government, and they went over that, whatever. And so I had sent Rick from Invisible Ships a message and was like, hey, listen to your new episode. It was really, really good. Enjoyed it. But I had talked to somebody recently that has some ties some long-standing ties with the military, and that was just left it at that. And they believe that they know exactly what all these UAPs are. Like, they know what they are. That's what they think.
China.
No, they didn't. Like, they just said like they don't have any information, but like from what they understand and what they've seen over the years, military knows exactly what they are. They're just putting this out there. I said something else interesting I found that you guys might enjoy, because I was talking about the invisible
Sure.
guys. That we are entering a period of a solar minimum. I'd never heard that before. So like I heard these and I quickly found like the super conspiracy, like the like Great Awakening map types. Oh, I still need to get a frame for that. But like that kind of thing where it's like so ridiculous. But then I started doing some research on, all right, a solar, like what the hell is a solar minimum? Well, it's actually a thing. Like you can go on NASA and they talk about between around 2019 and 2020, we'll be entering a new solar minimum period. And it's about every 11 years that the sun goes through decreased activity. Normal, natural science thing. So yeah, she pulled this thing up. So this is basically a good description of it. But the interesting thing might be, oh well, it's too close. Can you zoom it back out so I can see the rest of it?
That's what I was reading yesterday when I was talking to you.
Yeah. So the conspiracy theorist end of it is there's a lot out there that talking about that we are entering a grand solar minimum. So a solar minimum. So this. Well, I'll just read this because it kind of covers it.
Would that be a solar maximum?
No, because
I'm joking.
So this is actually
maximum minimum.
Yeah, and well, that was the thing, was like I realized that like, oh, this sounds absolutely ridiculous, but when we actually start reading about it, you're like, oh no, this is like a legit scientific thing, like that is a thing that happens.
Sunspots or whatever.
Yeah, so a new 11. So this is like an article on a whatever page, but they kind of spelled it out pretty well, so I left it up here. A new 11-year cycle of the sun has begun. Scientists believe that the sun was at its weakest in 2019 and the last 100 years or so, known as a solar minimum. In 2020 marks the beginning of the 25th cycle, but the odd thing is that solar activity measured by the number of sunspots at any given time is pretty low even in 2020, and that's what you had said.
Yeah.
You said you're like, well, shouldn't sunspots
increase? You said there's an inverse relationship between
right. So the sunspots are actually a evidence of solar activity. So sunspots are areas of strong magnetic forces on the surface of the sun, sometimes largest planets that appear as dark spots because they are cooler. The sun had no sunspots for around 71% in 2020 through September 21st, 2020, compared to 77% of 2019, according to the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's, the NOAA, which is a big thing, Space Environment Center. In May this year, it was high as 78%, sparking fears of a little ice age. So that's where people are like, there's not a little ice age coming, but this is where people are starting to speculate that a grand solar minimum is coming. Scientists say that the sun may be going through a long period of decreased activity known as a modern grand solar minimum from 2020 to 2053. The last time such an event occurred was during the Maunder minimum from 1645 to 1710, which was part of what is now known as the Little Ice Age, when the Earth went through a series of elongated cold periods during medieval centuries. So medieval centuries, it's well known for malnourishment and famine because the sun was acting irregularly and we just couldn't grow crops because of all of the environmental hazards that were happening, floods and storms and the way the jet streams and everything are going around the earth, like the weather is just fucked. So the alarm went off and a study predicted the surface temperature of the earth will go down noticeably during the modern grand solar minimum due to 70% reduction in solar magnetic activity. So the rest of it's getting out there. But that's when like I realized, I'm like, oh, like, so it's been what, roughly 300 years since we've gone through a grand solar minimum, and that was in the medieval ages, which people like we've even mentioned it before in the show. Like the suits of armor, like those old school ones that are like been like preserved. They're like tiny because people were fucking tiny.
Deficiency in food,
right?
Secondary to this,
right? So then it was like, okay, like how, like, and then the conspiracy theorist loving person inside me goes, all right, well, how much of, like, there's people out there that are like, hey, like, the experts, whoever the fuck that means anymore, know this is coming. And, but at the same time, like, they've been preaching on, climate change and that's global warming. Like, it's getting hotter, it's getting hotter. And I read an article where it was like, well, even if this does happen, because of the mass global warming we've had because of humans, it won't cool enough to affect us.
Like back in 1710.
Yeah. But it's just something interesting to think about and consider. Like, man, we've been having a lot of, environmental things that have been happening very frequently around the world. Is that, the wildfires out in California, this, like, how much of it is, I think it goes back to the conversation of, and it's difficult to being able to separate the conversations we're having of, yes, do we contribute to global warming or climate change, whatever you want to call it? Obviously.
My one patient sure does.
I was just about to talk about cow farts.
So you're going there, Fred? We have to tell that story later.
Yeah, well, we can circle back to that.
Thanks, Saki.
But do we contribute to these things? Yes. How much? I think that's debatable. And as soon as we say, well, no, it's not debatable. We need, like, we're burning the earth down. Like, well, hold on. Like, you know what I mean? And it goes back to how we've talked about before with Randall Carlson, how he talks about, like, the Younger Dryas impact, and that's a fun rabbit hole to go down too. But we have asteroids. We have, we've talked about solar flares and sunspots, and now I learned something new this week. Solar minimums and grand solar minimums, like all these things affect this delicate, fragile balance that we have on this earth. And for somebody, and that's why I have a really difficult time with the people that are like, humans are causing global warming. And then you have, like, I'm a fan of Musk, even though he's an alien, talking about, oh, well, Bitcoin takes so much energy and this, that, whatever. Well, how much energy and how much damage to the earth are we doing by mining the materials used for electric cars? Like, so we need to stop pretending that all these different things, like, we can come up with a new thing and our new and best argument is great for the earth or great for this. Or
yeah, I feel like there's always going to be some sort of an impact to the earth, and I feel like whoever's on team this is going to make it look like it's greater for this team, and whoever's on team this is going to go, well, you got to look at this, you got to look at that, you got to look at that. Instead, everyone's saying, hey, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to, we know that we have a limited amount of these natural resources, and so we're trying to supplement with electricity, even though we don't want to get rid of, the petroleum, the oil.
Right. So it always goes back to, hey, there's multiple facets to these conversations. One could even say that they're nuanced. She wasn't paying attention. She is now. But there's so many different facets to these things that if someone's telling me this is the reason that this is screwed up, and this is the only reason, no, stop it. There's a lot of reasons things are screwed up. And there's a lot of just going back to the Colion Noir thing. Yes, does this country have its problems? Absolutely. You know why? Because it's full of fucking humans. We will always have problems. But we need to start separating those problems and dealing with them individually. I think that's whether it comes to, climate change and, financial systems and governments and racism and sexism and any type of bigotry, all these things. We have to be able to start separating all these facets and saying, okay, let's deal with this. Let's talk. Like, if we want to have a conversation, let's talk about this, and let's talk about it, and not include all these ridiculous things in it. And I think someone that has done that really well, not really well. It's just kind of another way to recognize that, bring it full circle back to Lex Friedman. Was he had a discussion recently with Roger Reeves, because I wanted to talk about this. So Roger Reeves was one of the most, and I think they even say it in like the description, one of the most prolific drug smugglers to have ever, be known. He smuggled, I think, thousands of tons of cocaine and marijuana for Pablo Escobar, and I can't remember the name of their gang or whatever it was, the drug cartel, something with an M that they called them. But Lex Friedman had Roger Reeves on his podcast, and he was talking to this guy that smuggled thousands and thousands of tons of drugs into the United States, and you listen to his stories, and he spent, I think, like 33 years in prison, something like that. But for doing this, and it was because basically his buddy ratted him out, who ended up getting assassinated, probably by the cartels. And that was kind of the movie you mentioned, was American Made.
Yeah,
right.
Barry Seal. It was the Medellin cartel, I think.
Yeah, something.
And that's the area that they were in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he just kind of talks, like, and you listen to this guy talk to Lex Friedman, and Lex pulls out like the good in everybody. Is weird. He's such a weird robot AI kind of person. He's totally. But you hear this guy, and you realize like what he had done, and he tells these wild stories of different things that happened to him, and you just listen to him talk, and it's like, had you not known like what he did, you'd be like, oh, this is just like the nicest, sweetest old guy ever. And like his wife is there, who stuck through him through the whole thing. She talked on the episode as well. And it's like,
he served 30 years collectively
in
prison, and he escaped 5 times.
Yeah. He has all these different, because he served in different countries.
Germany, Australia,
United States. Yeah. So
Mexico jail.
Oh yeah, and he almost died multiple times. Like they tortured the hell out of him in Mexico. He went to Australia and spent, I think it was like 11 years there. And he said it was, it sucked because he was away from his family that he loved. That's also a great podcast to listen to. Listen to the Yeonmi Park one first, but the Roger Reeves one is super entertaining. But it hit me really hard. He talked about they transitioned him from the Australian prisons to the U.S. prisons, and he said basically the U.S. prisons are fucked. He said it was so terrible, not as terrible as the Mexican prisons, because they like, at one point he tells a story about them like
just overt corruption.
Oh, and they beat, because they just wanted to get a conviction out of something. At one point they beat the hell out of him. Like I won't spoil all the stories, but like,
so if you're gonna break the law, do it in Australia, is what you're saying?
Apparently, because they treat him halfway decent. They said the U.S. one sucked, the Mexican one sucked.
Probably because of how that whole island started. Wasn't it a penal colony for Britain? They probably have some empathy for prisoners.
Yeah.
So he said that the pilot that he employed for most of his operations ended up paying Bill Clinton, when he was a governor of Arkansas, billions. Oh, paid him millions.
Is that Barry Seal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Barry Seal, because so a little bit of the story, Roger Reeves ended up meeting Pablo Escobar, flying drugs for him, and then he met Barry Seal, who used to be a CIA operative.
Yeah. And
then went to jail for smuggling drugs or something like that, and then started flying for Roger Reeves. So it was like this trickle down thing. And then like Barry Seal is like, oh, I can't get caught in Arkansas. Like, we're good there. Like, they won't, like, I can't get busted there.
Yeah, didn't he have a giant compound out there?
It was something like that. But
With his own airport and stuff.
Yeah, and he was like, well, like, and then Lex Friedman was like, well, what do you mean by like you said like that he couldn't get caught? He's like, you're saying like that, not like that he didn't want to get caught there because he'd be in a lot of trouble, but that he like wouldn't be like physically get in trouble there. He was like, oh yeah. He's like, no. He's like, he would say like, I can't get caught in Arkansas. He's like, I'm going to dinner with the governor tonight. And he was like, wait, the governor at the time was Mr. BC. Yeah. Interesting, tying it all in. But that's also a phenomenal episode, listening to him like tell some of the stories and some of the horrific things he went through. And then now he's just like, man, I just love life. I wouldn't do it again. Like he didn't do any. I guess he like didn't get involved in any of the violence.
Yeah.
That Pablo Escobar
Sure.
was pretty brutal. But he just his story and like,
my fellow Americans, I did not know Barry Seal.
And on that note.
Wikipedia disagrees with you.
Yeah, fact checkers.
Also, I did not inhale.
Yeah, I don't even. Oh, I think that's probably it.
No way, bro. We got more in the tank.
Oh,
I'll keep doing the BC boys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll get off of that one. Did you see? Speaking of fact checkers, that old Psaki said like the White House basically saying, "Did you?"
Yeah, you sent that to me. That they were gonna link up with the phone companies to basically censor disinformation when it came to the
text
vaccine
messages and stuff.
Text messages through the vaccine.
Going to be going through text messages and whatnot. You know,
welcome to North
misinformation.
Korea and China.
Right. Yeah, and also then later it came out they had said that they were working with Facebook in monitoring Facebook and sending Facebook posts that they felt were misinformation. The White House was monitoring Facebook and sending Facebook posts essentially to take down.
So you're saying Facebook was sending Facebook messages?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and then after that, she goes on and old Jen Psaki says like basically that if you've been banned from one social media platform, then you should be banned from all of them for misinformation.
So what's the difference between misinformation
and disinformation?
And just a dumb bitch that doesn't have any information that circles back around? Riddle me that,
I think
Batman.
it's missing information.
And that Fox reporter asked her, well, what about Fauci? You know, he was saying last summer that we didn't have to wear masks. And like, is he going to be banned because that's misinformation?
Yeah.
And she said, well, no, because he's been very public about, you know, the changes and what he has learned through all of this. Yeah. And
so all we have to do is shout it to the rafters about these things and we're good. We're not canceled. Is that what it sounds like?
Or, you know, all of the people that were like, hey, this thing, COVID, might have come from a lab, you know, the level 3 virus lab in Wuhan, where the virus came out of.
Yeah.
And
canceled.
People were shut down. And now all of a sudden it's like, even CNN is running shit about, they're having like Josh Rogan, who wrote that book that was phenomenal. He's on CNN all the time talking about this lab leak theory now. Like
once
6 months ago, you were canceled.
Yeah.
You were a bigot. You were a
back to what you
Asian
said earlier.
phobe.
The coincidence.
Oh, so coincidental. I am the militia. Like it just drives me crazy. Like, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh well, people like I don't understand. Like I feel I have a hope. I do have hope. My small sliver of hope is in the realization and that the cable news networks and all this mainstream media and all these things that seem like they're mainstream, that there is a quiet majority of sensible, common sense people around the nation going
that have guns.
Allegedly. You know, like, no, like that's not, like, you guys are ridiculous. This is all for entertainment. Stop. But there seems to be chipping away.
Somehow Craig's post from 3 days ago they compared the numbers of.
Did it get shut down?
It is not shut down yet, which is
Okay.
surprising.
I
It
saw the
does
warning at
pop
the
up
bottom
that
of the
say
screen.
that
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
does.
that
the
always.
independent fact checkers.
No.
Yeah. And so there's been 49 comments and 3 shares. And one of
Saki's
the
probably
first
gonna
comments
cancel it.
was, "You're getting shut down."
I saw that.
And I'm really surprised that he is still on there. Also, side note,
Craig-
someone
Craig
shared
getting ready
on
for governor.
Craig's page that there is a second possible Sasquatch sighting reported in Ashland County. Someone shared that 22 hours ago.
What? We need to talk to Craig about that.
Yeah.
I don't
He
think
liked it. He did not respond, however.
I don't think was it you that said that we talked about. I don't.
Bro, he mentioned that at one point. I don't know if it was
I
on the
don't-
podcast. I don't know if it was before or
we
after.
talked to him more off
Yeah,
of the podcast
so
than we did on.
He said it in such like passing that I was like, I didn't want to say it because I figured everyone would say I was ridiculous. Like, why would you think there was a Bigfoot sighting? Like, and I was like,
I'm
I'm
disappointed
not,
in you.
I'm not going to say anything.
I'm disappointed in you
You're-
that you didn't bring it up.
Get in line, Fred. Get in line.
Have you
It's
got a lot
long.
of-
It's
have
real
you-
long.
Oh, that
It's
just
real long.
just the people being disappointed in you.
It's real long.
Yeah. Yeah, Doan said something, showed me that, and I was like, "What?" I was like,
Mhm.
I had no idea." So I obviously completely missed it. Not that I'm a Bigfoot guy, but I obviously completely missed that. But we'll have to.
It was after it rained. He was on his riding lawnmower, and he asked his name not to be in the story.
Of course he did.
Um,
Did he have a bull ring and
'Cause
a
he was-
giant beard? And was he jacked
No.
and weighed 270?
No, the guy in the lawnmower was probably drunk. I was drunk driving my
Yeah.
lawnmower. So
he saw something near
Handle a
the
wild
tree
turkey
line
down.
that was about 250 yards away. It was a large, all-black figure walking upright. It emerged from the tree
It was
line,
literally Craig that he saw.
walking diagonally in a northeast direction across the bean field, and then disappeared into another wooded area.
That's definitely Craig.
Oh yeah.
I could tell, like,
Oh
he
yeah.
looks like Bigfoot. Honestly, he's probably more jacked than most like Bigfoot depictions.
Yeah,
that
but
I've seen.
Bigfoot's got so much fur.
Yeah,
you just don't
that's,
know.
That's also true.
Yeah.
You realize that, like, when some of those animals, that
He's
don't
probably
have the
so
fur on-
veiny underneath that.
I wish I had something else to go to. 'Cause I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
We'll explore that end of August, man.
Yeah, he's supposed to, his announcement that he talked about on the show, and then the Bearded Butchers brought it up. His gym is supposed to open. Did you see all the stuff with the Bearded Butchers?
With Brock?
Yeah, did you see,
Oh, yeah.
you see the
Oh,
videos
yeah,
and
I
stuff?
did.
That's so awesome.
I did. Yeah,
Dude.
it was super cool.
Yeah,
that
super
that
awesome.
man has a. I saw someone say the RBF, the resting Brock face.
Oh yeah,
Dude, there's not a lot of human beings, and I'm like, ooh, like that's a slightly scary human being, but he might fit the bill.
I feel like he's probably.
I feel he's probably
One
a
of
very
the
nice guy.
nicest
Yeah,
ones
I mean,
ever, yeah.
dude, I'd definitely drink a Budweiser with him and smash
Well,
some
if
meat.
they're hanging, if he's hanging out with Seth and Scott,
Yeah,
I mean, he's got to be a pretty cool dude. But yeah, I saw that. Like, obviously, we knew about it beforehand
Sure.
because they told us.
Yeah.
But I felt like that's like the most like stardom that I've ever been a part of, is them like telling us that, like, oh yeah, like this is gonna happen soon. Like, but super cool, like so awesome for those
I mean,
guys.
dude, you did meet Jake Smith a couple times.
Yeah, but that's just like a personal, like, yeah, but nobody. You say a lot more people know who Brock Lesnar is than
Agreed.
Jake Smith.
Agreed.
I mean, not saying that one's better than the other, but Jake Smith is pretty awesome. But it was just super cool to see.
Sounds like we're gonna meet the Clintons soon, though.
Oh, Jesus. If I die.
It wasn't COVID.
It wasn't COVID. I can guarantee that.
I was
I've been
suicided.
I've been doing my cardio.
Yeah,
Epstein didn't
how,
kill himself.
How'd that work out for the McAfee guy or whatever his name was?
Yeah. Well, that's what, dude, that was
Yeah.
a big thing too. Was it not? It wasn't. What's his name? It wasn't James McAfee. Was it? What was his name? The guy that got Epsteined.
I love how that's a term now.
That because that got brought back up too. Like, she's still, Ghislaine Maxwell is still in jail. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it's just mind blowing. So many different like underlying stories that aren't getting any attention, but the Delta variant, because that's what matters. I don't know. it's become quite complicated with all of the information flow and the ability to learn things. It's like a 5D chess game, I feel like.
As in, how do we continue to control the people? Hey, a Delta variant.
Yeah, and then the beta variant. I like the beta variant. It's already been.
Is there a cuck variant?
Yeah, cuck variant. Yeah.
Yeah, I know someone has that variant. I won't say their name on the podcast.
Oh, well. Jesus. That's not my style. That's a little too much. That's a little weird. Maybe not weird, but that's a little too much. I get it.
You always say you have to try something at least twice to really know.
That's true. I guess that is true.
Jesus.
You just don't know if you, you got to try it.
Yeah, no, I do know, and I won't try it. I already listed the 2 things.
Yeah, we've been through that.
That's a no from me, dog.
You got to keep your mind open, though, Tom.
It's open,
Yeah.
but it's certainly
Okay, hey.
real fucking shut to a few things.
That's okay. That's all right.
You need hard nose some places.
Yeah, you do. You got to have some hard nose.
Yeah, if you don't, there'll be something else hard coming at you. Couldn't even get a word out.
That was so delicious.
I
Sign
do
me
it,
up.
man. I don't know what it came.
Oh, what else is on your little list there, Fred? You got anything else?
But we can end it with an completely kind of off topic. Music. You talked about, or you asked about the whole like playing things at speed.
Yeah.
And so I realized as I was listening to these podcasts, shows, different things, YouTube videos, which I will mention too. I think I mentioned before, and I've been kind of putting on social media with the Fed and cryptocurrencies and different things. I think it's a really interesting thing for people to explore, and for different reasons, not just because Dogecoin's going to make you rich, because that's fucking stupid. But there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Matthew Cratter, and he has a YouTube channel. It's called Trader University. And he does.
It's your boy.
I just really I found him completely organically. No one's ever steered me to him. I just found him and I started listening to some of the stuff, and here and there. But he's one of by far, when it comes to like investing, he even says like his is an investment advice, all these different things, because that's just, I think he used to work for a hedge fund and now he kind of does his own thing, but he does, stock market investing and all these different things, but he's a big Bitcoin, not promoter, but advocate.
Yeah. Advocate's a good word.
Just because, all of the things he talks about are kind of, maybe that's why I like him, because it kind of fits why I like certain things. Is it's decentralized, nobody controls it. If we can see anything that like we've talked about this whole episode, that if governments and people are in control of something, either greed or stupidity is going to fuck it up. So, but if anyone wants to check out his stuff, because we've talked about Bitcoin and finances and different things, obviously I actually reached out to him to be on the show, which I expected complete zilch from, which I've gotten.
Yeah, dude, you miss 100% of the chances you don't take.
Right.
Though.
So I reached out to him and was like, hey, like, we'd love to have you on the show. Like, and I never expected it, but
I would keep reaching out to him.
Yeah.
Man.
But still,
Squeaky.
The information that he puts out there, if you're interested in that kind of thing, really good. So it's Matthew Cratter, Kratter, at Trader University, not like Traitor, like a trader,
like
like a stock trader. But I started I remember I used to send you his videos.
Yeah, they were good, man.
Yeah, you were like, sometimes I'd send you a video and you're like, dude, can I speed this fun? Because he talk he's not super monotone, but he's not like. One of the big things that I liked about him was there wasn't a bunch of bells and whistles, and it wasn't like I didn't feel like he was trying to sell me anything.
No, it was just information presented.
Yeah, and he has some things. If you listen to his whole video and listen all the way to the end, he'll typically hey, like, I appreciate you guys listening the whole time. Here's like a coupon code for what I do sell at his website.
Yeah.
But like he just puts really informational videos up, and he does it really well. But like he's no bullshit. He just talks. It's not like super crazy or interesting or a bunch of video. Like, that's what I love about him. But it's kind of bland if you're not really in tune to what he's saying. But I remember you like being like, bro, can I speed this the fuck up? And I was like, yeah, actually you can. Because I listened to him on faster speed too. I listen to him at least 1.5.
Yeah.
Unless he gets into really something super
And slow it
complicated,
down so you can
then I'm like,
let it
man, like
sink in.
this is way above my head. I need to listen to this. But I'll listen to him sped up as well. But listening, all that to say, listening through podcasts at a higher speed and different videos and whatnot. When it comes to music, when like in Lex Friedman's intro, his music is sped up, and it's like an acoustic, like guitar and like almost like a classical type music, and the different things. Like when you hear music sped up like that, especially if it's like a raw type of like classical, like, you know, just straightforward music.
Yeah.
Like, cause you listen, like when Joe Rogan's episodes are played faster, it sounds fast, but it's not that, whatever. But there's some, like when I listen to our show, like I talked about when I'm just trying to pull some clips.
Sure.
Cause I play the guitar intro
Yeah.
and outro for the songs. But when that's sped up, it sounds super fucked.
Really?
Yeah. And it just like, it hit me completely off the side where it was like, music is something completely different. And like, there's just this like, not persona, but there's something to music that is, it's almost like spiritual. It's like when you fuck with its timing, because music is, you know, all about timing and everything else. Like, but when you mess with it, it's like if there's one thing across people, no matter what language you speak or what your beliefs are, I think if there's one thing that people can come together, it's music. It like moves us in a certain way. And it kind of hit me when I first kind of heard that messing with music, something that's so tied to our core of human beings and what we are and what we can do, it distorts it. And it's something, it just felt like it was something that was real and kind of magical in a sense. It was like, oh, like it was just some kind of epiphanical kind of moment that I had. It was like, wow, like our words, the things we say, you know, the messages we're bringing across can always, you know, they can be changed and understood and interpreted in different ways, but something
Or varying speeds.
Or varying, yeah, that's, you know what I mean? At varying speeds, and it can be received and ingested and absorbed at different speeds in different ways.
But what you're saying, the music may lose the magic when you change the tempo.
Yeah. Like when you change what music is, what that particular music was meant to be, it's very clear that that's fucked up. Because if you sped up someone's speech and all of a sudden the words didn't make sense,
Yeah.
or the words didn't like have any like,
then it wouldn't carry the same meaning, and it would be
right. So like sometimes when you speed up music, it almost glitches, and it was really like, it was really weird to like hear like the music glitch. It wasn't like it was just sped up. It was like, and it was like,
that's interesting.
It was like, wow, like something that can span across all things. When you change a little bit, it loses what it's meant to be.
So while we're on this topic, Tony, I have a question.
Far away.
Turn my mic off.
Would you say music, right? So we're on this topic of music.
Yeah.
If someone says, that's a good song, or that's a good artist, or that's a good band, do you think that music is objective or subjective?
So this argument was had on between Rogan and Brett Weinstein, I believe. It was. And I feel like you two must have had this conversation because I saw some interesting glances that shot across.
Yes. So
she's basically telling me to shut the fuck up with her eyes.
Yeah.
And her hands now.
So Fred has always told me that my taste in music sucks. It's fine. It is what it is. But then somebody else had mentioned a couple bands that they like, and he was like, her taste in music is fucking terrible. And Kyrie goes, well, they can like it. And I said, well, yeah, music is subjective. And he goes, no, it's not. It's objective. Like music. And I said, in general, it's subjective. Like everyone's going to have their own opinion. And he goes, no, it's not. Like with certain parameters and whatever, you can determine if music is good or bad.
You're
like
misrepresenting
it just
me,
sucks.
but that's okay.
No, this is exact
No.
conversation. And so we went back and forth on, and Kyrie was like, I think that it really just matters how you feel about it. And Fred agreed with her, but he said that you can determine if music sucks or not, even if somebody doesn't think that it sucks.
So
what was the argument on Rogan, or what is your
You're
No,
missing
and
it.
so I'll jump in here a little bit too. I just like there's a subjective element and I think there's an objective element to music. And so like different people can, subjectively say like, oh, I like that music. Like that's good music. And I could be like, well, I don't think that's good music. Like I feel like that's not something that I can get down with. But you hear like a Jimi Hendrix or an Eric Clapton, like I don't know that there's one human being that like objectively wouldn't say like they're good at music. So like they might not enjoy that music, but like that's a fucking prodigy at guitar right there. Like that's something that transcends any other guitarist or, someone who's a violinist or someone who, whatever instrument. Like, so I think it's a duality in the fact that like, yes, there's a subjective element to music. I may like someone and you might not like him. You might like someone, but I feel like we could probably agree on certain people that are so damn good at music or a specific instrument or a certain genre that we're like, okay, we have to agree that that person is phenomenal at that. And while I might not like it, at a personal level, or I might not listen to it, like I do agree that like it is good.
So what about the flip side? Like we can probably all agree that this person is super talented. But what about when someone is saying that person is terrible? And there's other people saying, no, I really like it. I'm like, yeah, but objectively, this can be determined that this person sucks.
Oh, so I guess my aforementioned sentiments, did they not fulfill that, what you just said there? They don't answer that question?
Well, Fred just thinks that objectively you can decide that music just
I don't
sucks.
think that.
Okay, explain what you said then without changing it.
No, so what I was trying to say, and I often do this. I'll preface it with this. I often say things in a way that I wouldn't to other people to Cass.
Yeah. That's fine.
Right. So I will admit that I may have worded it in a way that I wouldn't necessarily say it to somebody else because I feel like I can offend her a little more. Not easier, but just I have a little more grace. I have a little more room to offend her more often before she gets really pissed off. So what my intentions were is kind of like what Tony was talking about, was that subjectively you can like whatever you want to like, and you can call it, you can say I like this music or this song is really good. But when you start getting into saying this is good music, well, then it starts getting into that gray area of objectiveness instead of subjectiveness, where you can say, well, what do you consider good music? Just because you like it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good music on the whole scale of musicians. So, like Nirvana, they're not particularly good musicians. They don't necessarily make... So in that sense, you could take another step in saying they don't make particularly good music.
I think that is completely subjective.
But you can also say from the other end of the spectrum that subjectively, people love their music, myself included.
So I mean, going back to your original statement, when you were like, I think that's subjective, like I feel like you're going, hey, like here's how tight they were, how they played as a band. Here's, if we compared them to other grunge bands of the era, like they, like, how they played their instruments, how they sang, their timing, all those things would
and they
be
were
different
new on the scene, and like all
than
these different
than how we
facets.
feel about that music.
Yeah,
Well, if we're adding the word feel, then objectively, that's not
right.
being, so it's all,
Exactly.
but you said objectively, you can determine if
But there's no,
music
but
is,
there's no feelings with that original thought of here's their timing, here's how good they play the guitar, because you're taking something, another band or someone, and comparing how good they are within that
versus
genre.
how much you enjoy them.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying.
So I don't think you're wrong, Cass. I think that both those things can kind of exist in the same realm. It's just that, like, hey, like, here's a Clapton, like, this dude's phenomenal guitar, but like, maybe I don't like the way that Clapton sounds, but I can still go, hey, he was a damn good guitarist. Or you go, well, he was a damn good guitarist, and I like the way Clapton sounded.
so wouldn't it matter how you're rating or what, marks that you're looking at to determine if this music is good? Because the way that you rate and look at a song could be different than the next person,
No,
which is why I
absolutely.
think that it can't really be objective.
Well, I think it all comes down to using words precisely. And
So you probably shouldn't say he fucking sucks.
Unless it's because
well,
he is shitty at guitar, or compared to this band, or their timing is off, or
yeah, there has to be a quantifying factor.
objective factors.
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to start following
No,
it up
yeah.
with, because he says it to me often and I just laugh.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Kyrie was like, Daddy, that's just your opinion.
Right.
And maybe it is. I
and
don't,
that's yeah, absolutely. And that's why I tried to quantify that with, I say a lot of things to you that I would word differently to other people. But the same thing, like when Miles was in here.
I think that'd be qualify, wouldn't it? Because you're not actually measuring.
Yeah.
Unless you actually do measure it, which you may. I
either
don't
way.
know.
But like, I don't know. I fuck up. See, I don't know. I just fucking up words. Half a foot. Well, Miles, dude, I re-listened to those. Oh, it was so
Hilarious,
fun,
dude.
so fun. But
next week,
or
2 weekends. Sorry.
Yeah.
2
So
weekends.
Miles, right? Hopefully hopefully everything works out. He'll be on again. But in Miles' episode,
Hold on, I got to stop you right there. Jocko says again the exact same way that you do.
I was listening the other day and I was like, man, because I don't know anymore. It's so much.
Bro.
blended in.
I've listened to it. I meant to say it to you a long time ago. I've listened to a lot more episodes. I just finished the one with him and Admiral McCraven. 100% says again.
Well, you know what? I'm fucking okay with
Yeah.
that. Oh, fucking Jocko. Good. Yeah, you know what? I will die on that cross of saying again
please
the
continue,
same way
though.
Jocko does.
I knew you'd like that, fellas. So
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. Good.
Check.
He's so back to the music. I kind of equally, like when I brought up the Godsmack drummer,
Yeah.
and Miles was like, fucking Godsmack drummer. Like, it was the exact same thing, because I look at things on a scale of from one side to the other, and you have to choose your words wisely depending on who and what you're talking about, and it all changes.
So who's objectively shitty that subjectively you enjoy? Anyone?
Well, it depends on, like, okay, so one of the it also does it does depend. So I think that is one of the things that we've talked about Zach Bryan.
Oh yeah, I could see when you said he's not
But when he started out,
phenomenal guitar
he's
player.
not a great guitar player.
But
I am better than Zach Bryan at guitar.
Well, maybe
I
you
was,
were, yeah.
But he's played.
I think you probably still are pretty close.
I don't know if I maybe we're pretty close now. But when I first found Zach Bryan, I was like, oh, this dude's not a great guitar player. He's not a great singer.
So objectively, the music wasn't that good, but subjectively, there was some magic that he brought together.
He had fucking magic coming out the wazoo. And now, obviously, I've listened to him for, it's probably been like a year and a half, 2 years now that we've been following him. Now he's gotten much better.
That's what you said. So hold on. It sounds like you're both right. Is that what I heard? Can you live with that?
No, I don't have to be right.
Yeah, we agreed to disagree, which often happens in our household. But I think unless you are sitting there and they are on a stage and we are judging them based on certain things, you cannot make that blanket statement of they suck. Even if you can follow it up with because of this or this. Well, that's still your opinion.
I would absolutely agree with that. But at the same time, being human, we can use our opinion and just have fun and go, fucking Nickelback fucking sucks. Like, but guess what?
Yeah, but I guess
they're multimillionaires that have made.
How do you differentiate between opinion and fact? Like
with something like that involves feelings, like you
I'm
said.
I'm not saying feelings though. When if someone's on stage and you're like, hey, they suck, and you're like, what if all of a sudden you're like, they suck because, and you have something to compare them to, which they're nowhere near as good at, which is completely objective.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Anytime you bring objective like arguments into something,
you have to have something measurable.
It has to be measurable and it has to be broken down. But as humans interact, like for the most part, I think we can agree that when we do things like that, I'm like, oh, Nickelback fucking
There's
sucks.
some nerds out there, bro.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, well, like she'll be like playing like Nickelback, or I guess obviously I've used that example a bunch because that's just an easy one. Or these other bands, I'm like, or Five Finger Death Punch or whatever. Like they suck. And it's only because I was saying they suck because like I feel like it's just like, yeah, I get it. I heard this song the last 4 times you wrote it. I get it. Like. So it's a very subjective thing.
I like though you're both right.
I don't need to be right. It's okay. But I was being.
He did not tell me that the night we were arguing though. He did not
it's a very music. I think
is there a statute of limitations, guys?
I think especially when it comes to music, obviously, when it comes to enjoying, and maybe this is what it is. The qualifying factor, is that right? When it comes to enjoying music. That is 100%. I'm not even going to use 1,000 because you can't be more than 100.
Thank you.
That is 100%.
110, 120% is not a thing.
It's 100% subjective. Being good at something compared to something or somebody else, that is 100% objective.
Can confirm.
How are you now?
To be fair. I feel like we're in there.
That's it. To be fair. Thank you for hanging out with us on this episode.
Appreciated as always, and if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or guest suggestions, leave them in the comments after you subscribe to the channel, or visit chroniccuriosity.com to get in contact with us.
And the store, which you can pick yourself up some fantastically curious merchandise.
Until next time. That's it.